This is the Real Resilience Talk podcast. I am still Cam coming at you. We're going to talk about resilience. We're going to talk about maintaining it, sustaining it, whatever we got to do to just keep moving forward together. Let me tell y'all up front, this show has no affiliation with any official organization. This is just card carrying, and most times U.S. citizens are just human beings using our rights of freedom of speech so we can express ourselves and talk about some things that need to be talked about. And y'all know me, I don't feel like we're ever going to get anywhere positive until we can start getting real and raw and even being vulnerable about these subjects. So that's the whole point of it. That's the whole premise. You might hear some bad words. I hope you hear some good words, but you might hear some bad words because sometimes I just got to express myself, and it's for a point of emphasis. Not a lack of vocabulary, but a point of emphasis. And there's such thing as a psychology, a taboo language. So sometimes it has a reason to gain your attention, and we're going to get all into that. This is episode 65, part 2. I am here with the privilege to be back in the presence of the great Ernest Twigg, and we're going to get into it tonight, man. How you doing, brother?
Brother, it is so good to be back. It was so much fun the last time that I was like, oh, man, you extended that offer. You want to do it again? And I was like, hell yeah, it was too good. Too much fun. Yeah, thank you so much. I love it.
No, thank you, man. Thank you. It's a blast. It's fun. And like we were talking about just before we started recording, as long as this could help one person, then that's all that matters. And to anyone listening, you know, I've talked to a few people in passing, and, you know, you want to be on the show, and they're like, I don't know if I'm even that interesting. You'd be surprised. If you are alive, and you could be 5 or 85. If you're alive, then you know how to stay alive. And some BGs, you know how to be staying alive. You know how to be thriving. So what works for you, if you share it, your experience, it may work for someone else. You know, some people may not want to listen to Cam because they don't listen to my show anyway. Or they may not want to listen to Ernest, or they may not want to listen to Fill in the Blank. But maybe when you say it, it hits and it resonates. So, and maybe the only reason why you even went through the hard time you went through was so that you could take that mess, make it a message, and hopefully try to be a blessing to somebody else. Be a rainbow in someone else's clouds, as Maya Angelou said. Try to be a rainbow in someone else's sky. So that's the idea. I do want to jump off because I am a fan of and I love the United States Marine Corps, and they've recently released a new Sustaining the Transformation. So if anybody knows what that is, that's a publication to talk about when we become Marines, not just becoming one. Okay, you graduate, but how do you sustain the transformation of being a Marine? And it's not just for Marines. I mean, this is for anyone that's making changes in their lives. How do you sustain and maintain, right? Because it's really easy to get on a kick or to get on some 6-week diet or something like that, but how do we maintain and sustain? So I wanted to read the definition of resilience from that MCTP 6-TAC-10 Alpha, Sustaining the Transformation. It says resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficult or negative experience, whether it be a negative counseling, a difficult family event, or losing a fellow Marine in combat. There are numerous situations inside and outside the Marine Corps that require one to be resilient. And you also need perseverance. And it's an important aspect of a Marine's personal and professional life. And it ensures that when we're faced with challenges in and out of combat, we're able to meet those challenges, drawing from internal and external sources of strength. That last paragraph I read was actually from the new MCWP 6-TAC-10 Leading Marines. But what I love this, I've never seen this before, and Ernest, you can back me up on this. This says they will be able to meet those challenges drawing from internal and external sources of strength and support. Look at that. Like external, like we've never really been like that. We've never really said that. A lot of people don't look at it like that. It's all on you. It's all within you. It's all within your faith, anything like that. But we can also reach out to external sources. Hashtag Military One Source, hashtag 988, hashtag reach out and talk to a friend. So it says drawing strength from internal and external sources. I'm going to shut up. Just wanted to share that. I'm going to pass it over to my friend and see what he's got to say about anything he wants to. Go ahead, my man.
No, brother. Like you're talking about external sources. Check out the power of having a friend like Coach Campbell. So a lot of people don't realize, Cam, that what was it? In June, I lost my mother, you know?
Yes, sir.
And so here I am. I'm getting ready to go into, I'm at the highest peak of my life. I'm consulting. I'm doing things I never thought possible. And, you know, life does what it does. Life does what it does. Yes, sir. And so I lose my mother, and, you know, it hit. But I go on LinkedIn, and let me tell you something, like the voice of God hit me. Like, and I'm not even super religious, but I see Coach Cam, and now I haven't seen you in like 15 years, bro. I
Yeah,
don't know.
15 years. Yeah.
So 15 years, and out of the blue on LinkedIn, my boy Coach Cam, he sends a message saying, "Hey, you need to check out what Ernest Twigg is putting down in A Leader Provides. It's great, you know."
Boom.
Yeah.
Right there, Leader Provides. Yes, sir.
And you really touched me, man. You really made my day, because I was going through something all on my own. And you're talking about that external source. So here it is. I see it. Boom. And I said, you know what? I haven't seen Coach Cam in years. So I started going through your mission. I started seeing your pod. I started to see everything. And I forgot how exactly, but you reached out and I reached out. And you were like, I was like, hey, please don't tell anyone, I'm going through something. And you just offered so many golden gems, diamonds, and it pulled me out of your stinking thinking. It pulled me away from feeling sorry for myself. And what you did by being that external source for me was help me flip. I don't want to lose everything I've worked for, man. And even if I had nothing, I would still want to honor my mother by celebrating her life. And that's exactly what you did. You changed my mindset from, okay, wow, this is devastating. How can I move forward? To boom, you know what? I love you, Mom. Thank you for breathing life into me. Let me celebrate your love. And that's the example of external resilience right there. And I'm going to kick it back over to you, but it meant so much to me, man, deeply. I got to tell you how much you've impacted my life. And this isn't the first time. Remember, we started the last conversation with the death of my cousin.
Yes.
So somehow the cosmos, God, whatever force that we can't name has the realest dude. Like, when you talk about keeping it real, that's your gift. Like, you are blessed by being a good person. So when people are feeling down, like I was, you're that external force that transforms their mindset. And never stop believing in that. I can never repay you. Before we jumped on just to the audience, before we jumped on, Cam didn't know I was hitting him with all this.
I did not.
But
and I'm grateful for you.
I told him straight up raw. And I said, hey, I'm all the way up here in West Virginia, but if, you ever got on the phone, call me. You need me for backup for whatever. Like, no lie, I'm coming down and I'm pausing work, everything in life, and we're gonna get right. So right. Thank you so much, Coach. I appreciate you being there for me.
Oh man, I thank you, and I appreciate you trusting me with such information, because it's a lot for anyone out there listening when people share things with you that hurts. It's a lot for anybody to say, I'm hurting right now, I'm going through something right now, let alone such warriors as yourself to be vulnerable and be like, hey, this happened. So yeah, the main thing, man, I if you wanted someone else to know about the passing of your mother, the way I looked at it was you would tell them yourself. I didn't need to go on and go ranting and have vicarious attention or any of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Just remember that, y'all, when somebody out there grieving, because grief never ends. I always quote General Neller. I love him. He was a great commandant in the Marine Corps, 37th Commandant, but he released this letter called Mental Wellness in 2019. And this was after I had an attempt. I had a lot of stuff going on. I was losing my way, but it couldn't have been better timing. And obviously he wasn't speaking to me. He the boss man, boss lady of the whole Marine Corps, the commandant, releases these things called white letters. The Sergeant Major does too, of the whole Marine Corps. And it's their take on something, and it's their guidance directly to the individuals, all individuals. And this one was about mental wellness. And in there, and I can just quote it, I don't need to go pull out my book or nothing, but he says, "We never get over it." And he put it in quotations. And man, it spoke to my soul so much for anyone out there listening, because, we never get over it. And our it is people. Our it is things. Our it is tragedies and traumas. And we never get over it, is what he said. So first off, I was like, man, that's so real. Like that's expectation management. Like, you will never get over it. And let's be real. I don't want to get over it. I don't want to get over my cousin, who is more like a sister to me, who was murdered a few years ago to domestic violence. I don't want to get over my brothers that I've lost in the Marine Corps, and my own blood brother that was killed a few years ago. I don't want to get over them. But what he says is, instead, through each other, we learn how to not be disabled by it, how to move forward, how to cope. And he says, pain shared is pain divided. Like, I think that is exactly what I feel like you were describing, that external source of strength, that when you share it with someone you trust, someone you love, and they give that love back. And now, you know what I would never say to you, and I suggest anyone else never say this to anybody who's grieving, never say to someone, "I know how you feel," because you don't. You have no flipping idea. We are all as unique as our fingerprints. So you never know the relationship that you may have. You may have lost your parent. You may be a male, or the same kind of background information, right? But you didn't have that person as your parent. You didn't have that person as you. You know what I'm saying? So it's as unique as our fingerprints. So never be one, especially when someone is in their time of grief, to say, "I know what you're saying." No. We just need to listen and shut up sometimes and just be there for each other. And it's so fragile. It's so important, and we all get hit with it. So it's not a matter of if, but when will those it's of life hit us. So what I try to stress and emphasize on the show is to build our resilience now. So that way, when those times come, we can weather through it. We can not just go through it, but we can grow through it. And hopefully we can help somebody else with it, right? Because it even says to not be disabled by it, to be able to cope with it, to be able to deal with it, and to keep moving forward. Pain shared is pain divided. Shout out to General Neller for those words. It literally changed and reassured the path that I was on in life, and I'm still here, and I'm taking it day by day. But I love you, man, and I thank you for sharing that experience, and I'm glad I could just be there for you, man. Thank you for your trust.
Yeah, no, 100, man. And, remember I told you from my heart, you asked me a question that I didn't script, I didn't write, I wasn't prepared for, but I answered it from the heart. And you asked me what, my definition of resilience. And then we went down, and I told you, and then you asked me, what would I say to someone who was going to, take that drastic actions and do something, finding a permanent solution for that temporary problem. And if you would have done something, and you would have robbed me of that moment you pulled me. You are that guiding light. And I think that sometimes we don't know our own worth, because in this crazy world, we're looking around, we're looking to LinkedIn and our job titles to see if we're valuable. We're looking at our Facebook, we're looking to our, where we are and our status in life, instead of reaching out and shaking each other's hands, giving each other a hug, and just being a good person. Just being, So, I really, really want to explain to the audience what type of a person you are. So I've conducted a little analysis.
I did not pay this man for any of this, but I am grateful, and I'm going to be in the moment, but I didn't stage any of this, I promise. But I'll Venmo you after, okay, Ernest? I'll Venmo you.
You can't afford me, bro. You can't afford me. No, but on the real. So Coach Cam has written a powerful, life-changing short, and it's really indicative of how you are as just a damn good human being. So inside this book, Cam has the natural ability to, one, see the best in everyone. This is a leadership trait that I've been espousing for a long time. If you want to be a true leader, you got to find not just what they're doing wrong and providing feedback, but it comes natural to you. You find the best in people. And the second piece to you, Coach Cam, is you have a poisonous mind. You have a crucial mind in terms of your raw horsepower, in terms of interpreting quotes, interpreting powerful communication. And that combined with your ability to see the best in all people has brought you to this authentic, you keeping it real book that has the ability to change lives, because it's already changing mine, and you didn't pay me for this, and I can say whatever I want to.
Yes, you can. First Amendment's in full effect. Now it's backfiring on me, but yeah, no, definitely.
You can say whatever you want. I got you.
I'm grateful. I had no idea you was gonna, man, to come from you though, man. It means so much to me. I've admired you for years. Like, yeah, yeah. I just say thank you, man. It's I do agree with you. I don't know if I'm the best at it, but I do agree with you that a leader's job is to find the best in those around them and bring out their best. It's to get the best potential out of an individual and the situation for the best, right? It's not manipulating. It's not brainwashing. It's not any of that kind of stuff. It is kind of brainwashing in a good way. I heard you express it one time where you said, yeah, I'm cleaning my brain of all the shit, basically. And so in that context, yes, I am a fan of brainwashing, because we're cleaning out the dirtiness, the stinking thinking, right? But as a leader, your job is sometimes it's the tweak, is to mold, it's to, point out the wrong, but to not just say wrong or surprise them with what's wrong and how you feel, but tell them ahead of guide them and bring out their best so you can help another human reach their full potential, right? I talk a lot about Marine Corps Total Fitness. I think it's amazing, like the 4 domains of being fit in not only physical, but mental, social, and spiritual. All those domains, the holistic. How are you as a leader, anyone listening right now, bringing that out the best in other people? And not only that, but man, if you could bring out their best as a human, you will damn sure accomplish whatever mission or task or assignment or project you're on in any kind of workforce you're in, because they know you genuinely care about them being better, right? And I think that I'm just so happy you said that, because too often we try to mold people in a certain direction we want them to, and pigeonhole or typecast or whatever you want to say, and it doesn't give them the opportunity to be their best. And that's our job as leaders. That's the burden of leadership. You got to find opportunities for your people to perform at their best. And it's a live and learn, trial and error, but that's got to be at it to bring out their best, extract the full potential. So own that. And it may just be for your doggone self.
That's right. Yeah, brother. And you extract the best from others. And I want to mention a specific individual that you cite in your book. And watch this. So you've got Viktor Frankl, you've got Martin Luther King, but more impressive, Coach Cam, more impressive is that you have your uncle. Yes. So why is that powerful? Because you have the ability to see the best in not just famous individuals, and I call them famous, but you have the ability to see the best in great people that are just like you and me.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me say on page 15, you say, live within your means. Now, I know that this is a discussion of resilience, but there's something very beautiful in what Cam is saying here when he's talking about his Uncle David, talking to him about, hey, dummy, don't go around spending a lot of money, because a lot of issues, Lance Corporal pay. Talk about a Lance Corporal, put yourself in their shoes. Think about them a little bit, when you're living paycheck to paycheck, you got a kid and now you're on WIC and all that stuff, but
that's real.
It is. And so I love how real you keep it. You keep it clear and concise. This one is simple, and it will help you succeed in whatever financial situation you're in. A lot of crime, divorce, despair, and personal blunders come down to one thing: money problems.
True, man. Especially in our society, especially in the West. I mean, I think
I
it's
love it
applicable
because you go
everywhere,
on.
but definitely in ours. Yes.
I love it because you go on in there and you say, "Hey, I'm not the best at math." What, no, but what's great about this is that you're saying, "Look, if I could do it, you could do it." You know, and
Yes.
it's true. It's true. You're a very special individual to put your father in there, and then I'm not going to ruin for. I want to build some type of mystery, but you got to check out why the book is named. I'm not going to give out who, what, where, when, or why, but there's a code. There's a code.
Right here.
Yes, sir.
Here.
And it well done. Well done, brother. I know you don't want. I know this isn't about you, but in a sense, it is, because you're walking the walk, you're talking the talk, you're keeping it real. And now twice you have somehow crossed my path, and I just finished today. I woke up at 5:30, working all day, had some intense briefs. My mind was, I'm gonna be honest, my mind was starting to drag. You get tired, you know? But when you hit me up, you hit me up and you said, "Hey, you ready to do this?" I'm fired up, because you are a true gem, man. Thank you. Thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And thank you for acknowledging it. I just want to take a pause right there for anyone out there. You know, obviously Kanye West says some crazy things in life. We've all heard it ourselves. But actually, back around the time I met you, I remember driving every morning to 1st Battalion. I was staying actually at a friend's house in base housing. He just gave me a room and I would just stay over there. I had a barracks room because I was geo-bashing. My wife was still active duty at another duty station. So I was done it by myself, and I would drive every morning. And you remember the little tiny PX, which is like a little convenience store by the car wash that used to be over there?
Yeah, by 3rd Battalion.
Yeah,
by 3rd Battalion. Yeah,
I went in there one day. When I was new. It was like I got off like it was like 2,200 or something like that. I don't know. I was new and I was just tired. And you know, like I'm like 180 right now. I was like 131 then. You know, just I was. New
I remember,
at it, and I sucked, and I looked like Skeletor, and that. I went to the store, and when I was checking out, they used to put CDs up at the front, like right at the front by the cashier. So I was getting some cigarettes. I was getting some caffeine, nicotine. That's how I got through being a drill instructor. Anyway, they had the new Kanye West album. It was like 2007, and it was Graduation. And I was like, what's this? Right? And I knew who he was, and I was like, I'm going to get this. I put it in my CD player. Now, because I had no time, and why I'm emphasizing this, I literally, you know how it is, we worked nonstop. I had the same CD in my tape deck in my CD player for like 6 months, just going in a loop. So anytime I made that drive to and from 1st Battalion to where he stayed at by 3rd Battalion in the base housing, what I could get through like one song in that distance or whatever, but that's what it was, right? So, and I never drove my car than that. I just ran all over that island. That's what we do. That's right. Or you drive the safety vehicle or whatever the case is. But all of that to say, you can say whatever you want about Kanye West, but, you know, even a broke clock could be right twice a day. He said in the song Big Brother, he said, if you admire someone, you should go ahead and tell them, because people never get the flowers while they can still smell them. And it's a song that he dedicated to Jay-Z and their relationship and all he had done for him and everything like that. And even talks about the back and forth and drama or whatever, but and I know they may not be on good terms today, but the point of the matter is what I'm saying is what you just did. And I just want to tell you thank you, because too often in life, we don't take time to pause and acknowledge and give people their flowers while they're still around. Now, let somebody die. And man, I mean, look at it right now. You know, this last week we lost Malcolm Jamal Warner in a tragedy. We lost Ozzy Osbourne. Like there's a lot of, you know, celebrities passed away, all that kind of stuff. And you'll see instant reels, instant this, instant, like everybody is giving flowers now, but like, anybody can follow my stuff. I've been playing me some I'm a Dreamer by Ozzy for years and just everything, you know, but like be a fan of someone now, not just when they pass away is what I'm saying. So I just want to tell you thank you, even though like I'm not here to get praise. I'm not here for any of that kind of stuff, but I know you know that, but you still take the time to acknowledge. And I just say thank you, man, for being you. But for all of us, I think we can learn that, because when we lose somebody, we always want to say everything we ever wanted to say, and it's just, man, we can't say it at that moment no more. Maybe we can talk to them from another parallel, whatever your beliefs are, but in the flesh, we can't no more. So if you admire someone, you should go ahead and tell them. People never get their flowers while they can still smell them, and you never know, man. Some of the things that you've said about me recently, man, I've been in some dark places recently, man. But since reconnecting with you, it's helped me. It's reminded me, right, of who I aim to be and who I strive to be. And, you know, neither one of us are speaking from a pulpit of perfection here. So don't hear us wrong. We're still trying to figure it out every single day. And no matter what anybody wants to convince you of, nobody has it all figured out. That's why I wrote the book, so I could just not forget the stuff I have kind of figured out. And then I got to be reminded of how much I need to be reminded of them all the time, because, you know, life is a consistency. You have to have a consistency and a discipline to maintain. So I just share that with y'all, man. Don't be afraid to express gratitude to anyone. And thank you.
You know, Cam, keeping it real, man. I'm just calling you out because it really happened and you deserve it. And the world needs to see your good deeds. Tragedy, brother. You were given the Marine Corps definition on trauma and resilience, you know, basically on resilience and how you face trauma and tragedy. And I'm gonna say something extremely, extremely real. So if people are feeling some kind of way, please listen to what I'm saying and understand that I'm with you and I love you. And we're going through this thing called life together. Okay. With that being said, I know my time is going to be final one day. I totally know, and I totally accept this. There's no reason to rush it. And knowing this, having this, it's called memento mori. It's a philosophical concept. And having this clock that basically hovers over my head, I basically go through life and I look at everybody and I ask myself, how can I help them? Now, luckily, I have a beautiful and strong wife who says, some people do not want your help and others are not worth your help. And what she means.
So facts. Wow. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that is powerful, man. Some people don't want it and some people don't deserve it.
Absolutely. So, yeah, when you're going through life and you got people like Coach Cam who's pulling you away from those dark places, those external forces that bring you up, I start getting strength from that. So you asked me a question that I wasn't able to answer. We moved on to a different subject. And really it was, you know, what on days that are going bad when I feel like shit, what gets me through that day? And I said gratitude. And that's easy. That's an easy answer. But it's very, very hard to explain how much I appreciate the human race in general. The human race. Man, I'm telling you, my brothers and my sisters from around the world are the inspiration that keeps me going with this memento mori, with this clock that's over me. So as I'm going through, I'm just trying to make everyone's day just by being me. Hey, how you doing, sir, man? Oh, you know, it's as easy as going through, you know, the Piggly Wiggly and doing some grocery shopping and offering the cashier, you know, hey, how are you doing? Genuinely. All
Genuinely,
good?
Yes.
Yes. And I appreciate you. Thank you. You know, connecting with every single person that you can while we're given this time, because it has a healing, it has a healing effect on you as a person. And that healing effect is those days that I'm tired and I don't necessarily feel motivated to get out of bed. I just remember the people to the left and to the right. It sounds cliche and it sounds like the Marine Corps, but it's not. Like, I can't fail the people to the left and to the right because they inspire me on a daily basis, and I'm full of gratitude. So that's my way of dealing with trauma and tragedy. I could break down and go into a corner like any person in the world, rightfully so. When you lose the people that you love, when you lose your mother, you lose your cousin, you lose the individuals, because that's life is going to take them away. memento mori isn't just for me. I see the clock on everyone else as well. And how many times have they been told, oh, you're looking dapper today. Oh, that was brilliant. That was a brilliant. And so that's kind of what keeps me out of the stinking thinking. It's kind of what supercharges me. And the more you practice it, Cam, this is what's so beautiful. It's not affirmations. It's not something superficial, but after you kind of get into a habit of feeling joy and helping people, when a tragedy comes your way, there's going to be a light, and you're going to see that light. You were my light. You were the one that
Thank you, bro.
Stepped up. Yeah, absolutely. And you pulled me from that dark space to where I'm at today, talking to you on a podcast and loving life, man. Loving life. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, man. And I think it's so important that you just said it. And people go, oh, gratitude. No, what it does is it obviously makes you take stock and be grateful. But what you also did, even when you provided examples, you were specific in what you were complimenting and what you were expressing that you're grateful for. Look, we've all been told, slap on the back, good job, thank you, all of that. But like when people get specific and let you know why they're grateful for you specifically, man, that hits different, because a lot of us hear empty, it's just like it's like when you, God bless you. Are you really saying God bless you, or is they sneeze and you've just been like conformed to say that in society? We're saying genuinely, right? And you got to make the time and take the time to express that to people. But the thing that I love about what you said about looking for gratitude and things to be thankful for and complimenting and being randomly kind to people is you kind of start training your brain to look for it subconsciously. So where I'm wired naturally, just how I am. I've been through enough therapy. I've known enough things. My negative bias is so strong to everything. It's off the charts. My survival instincts kick in and I go straight negative because it's fight, flight, freeze, fawn, whatever. And there's some disorders associated with that, but I'm working through it. But what I've done is try to flip and see the positive, not naive. Look, a bad day is a bad day. Somebody messes up, they mess up. But it really helps if you specifically tell them what you're grateful for. But also if they mess up, tell them specifically what they're messing up with, because that can help them grow as well. Or maybe you'll get educated as to why they are or are not doing the thing or whatever it is. And this is not just applicable to Marines or sailors or armed forces or marriages or work. It's applicable to how we interact with everyone all the time. Like we can all be each other's coaches and that steel sharpens steel type thing. But gratitude is one hell of a drug. And so many of us are chasing the next thing, the next goal. And I shared this yesterday. I had the privilege of speaking to a group of young warriors, and I told them the quote from Epicurus where he says, "Do not spoil what you have by desiring what you have not. Remember what you now have was once among the things you only hoped for." And the way I explained this to them was I had on the thing that I was talking about, I had a name tape that just said U.S. Marines that goes on our uniform, right? And what I explained to them was, these were higher ranking individuals and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying rest on your laurels or be lazy or complacent by any means. You got to maintain momentum. It is good to have goals, but it's also another thing when goals have you and you're just a puppy chasing your tail, chasing the wind on the floor. I'll be happy when, fill in the blank. No, be happy now and keep aspiring, keep your ambitions. But there's a time in boot camp, there's a 13-week training cycle to become a Marine. And halfway through it, you go to the rifle range and you become a second phase. There's 4 phases to recruit training. And the first phase just sucks. Just know that it just sucks. All of it sucks, but there's phases. There's levels to this shit, as people say. But in second phase, they go to the rifle range. And the entire time they've been at boot camp so far, they've been wearing camis. They've been wearing our digital uniform, right? But it has no names on it. There's nothing on it, right? They just look like, a great first song I used to always say, they look like civilians in hunting suits, right? They're just trying out for a part. But when they get to the rifle range, they get issued, and it means a lot because our generation wore these directly on site in combat. Majority, some wore green, but the desert utilities that we have, the desert colored ones, you can Google these desert Marpat, desert camis, but you get those for grass week for when you're learning how to fire a rifle. So it's becoming real now. And for our generation, that uniform holds significance because that's what most of us deployed to OIF and OEF in, was with those deserts. Now, some people were green given the climate and all that kind of stuff, but majority was those deserts. So those were holy to us, to our generation as Marines, right? And for the recruits, now they actually have their name stitched on it, right? Their name is stitched on it, right? And their name is on the left breast of their chest, and or the U.S. Marines on the left, and on the right is their name. And even on their pants, on their trousers, as we call them, it says their name. What I was trying to tell this group of warriors was, do not spoil what you have. And what you have, and I tapped my collars, and I tapped where ribbons go and medals go. Remember that once all you desired was for your freaking name to be on here. You didn't care about the candy. You didn't care about the accolades. You didn't care about the rank. You didn't care about, you were just so grateful to see. And I'm telling you, there is a morale boost. I'll never forget that moment when I was in recruit training and we got issued camis that had our names on it. Like, I was just like the drill instructors. It said my name, and then it said us Marines, because it says U.S. Marines, but we like to say us Marines because we're a family, we're a team, right? But I was trying to emphasize to them, not in a sense of be complacent or let your guard down or let's not have any goals or let's just stagnate. No. But too often, especially as ambitious, goal-seeking individuals, as Marines a lot of times are, but as humans in general, we're on to the next thing, and we don't stop and take stock and just appreciate that. Remember what, like Epicurus said, remember what you now have was once among the things you only hoped for. We just hoped to be able to go. We just hoped to be able to wear the uniform. No ribbons, no medals, no accolades, no direct deposits, no awards. It was just your name, and that was enough. And I was just emphasizing to them, along with memento mori and gratitude, don't lose sight of that, and don't let nobody ever take that away from you, because you can, and you can get complacent, and you can get to chasing the wind, and you are one of those people that go, I'll be happy when, and you can read All the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. It's the waiting place. People are waiting for the rain to rain or the snow to snow or the thing to come or the thing to go. They're just waiting and talking shit. Stop talking shit and do it and be grateful right now. All right, rant done. Sorry.
No, you're touching on something that's very close to my heart. And so, yeah, I'm really an addictive personality, like, to be honest with you.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm possessed when it comes to something like alcohol or drugs. I could have very easily gone down a path where there was no return. Super easy, you know?
Yes.
But fortunately, there were external forces that pulled me away, gave me guidance, and you know, I relied on that strength. However, that addiction doesn't go away. And what you were just talking about in terms of achievement, I've been down many roads to where I start beating myself up because I feel like I'm not doing enough in life.
Yeah.
Now, that's unfair. No one judges yourself harder than you. That's the truth. I believe we beat ourselves up with those 70,000 thoughts that make up who we are, that we have in a single day. Like, we hold no punches. There's no mercy when it comes to the self-hate that we could do over the silliest thing, over stupid things. I'll give you a prime example. This chessboard behind me, okay? This is how, you know, because I didn't become a chess master at the age of 15. You know, like that kind of mentality, you know, I can't do it. I'm dumb. So, you know, I start thinking that I'm dumb because I set this goal that's really insignificant inside of my life, but I get frustrated over a board game. Now I've created this limiting belief. You know, you were talking about your warriors, Lance Corporals. You know, I love them, man. I do. And
well, yes,
I would
let's go for life.
That's right. I would try to put them in leadership positions early. You know, in the infantry, a fire team leader is normally billeted as a corporal. Okay, but you and I both know that, hey, sometimes manpower doesn't, you know, we can't fill those seats, so we've got to bump a Lance Corporal up and put them as a sitting fire team leader. Okay. And so now, whenever I would come, let's say, or you've seen it as drill instructors. Hey, I'm not ready to be a senior drill instructor. Did you ever hear that, drill master? I'm not ready to be a senior.
I said it.
There you go. The limiting belief. And so one of the things that that I would do specifically is say, hey, Lance Corporal Camp, come here. I need to talk to you real quick. So you think you're not ready, right? And of course, yeah, no, I want to get and I'd be like, stop right there, and I'd really grab them by the shoulders and look them in the eyes, because when you pay attention and you're talking to someone and you let them know you're there, they start paying attention back.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I'd look them in the eyes and I'd tell them, no one in life is really truly ready for anything. We figure it out as we go. We believe in ourselves. We learn. We make mistakes. Just treat your team members well. Do your best every day and be a good person. And you're going to be a great leader. And that's the recipe for success. And that's what I would tell them. Going back to tying it into resilience, don't think that you're not ready to talk to someone or to make a difference, to get on the podcast with Coach Cam and start sharing your inspiration, because I'm ready to hear it. I'm ready to hear what you have to offer. So, yeah, no, profound, brother. So I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate you, man, and thank you. That's so real. Like, and for anyone out there who may be about to step into something new, man, whether it's been driving a car or being a parent, or all the things, in my experience with serving in the Marines and with Marines, like, none of us are ever ready for the big things. You just look, man, just put one foot in front of the other and just keep moving forward. Try it and try again. And it's like, to me, Nelson Mandela said, like, we never really lose. We either win or we learn. And that's the truth. Like, fail stands for first attempts in learning. So is it really failing? And with the context that we hold it in, you're not a failure. Failure is an event. It's not a person. Zig Ziglar said that. And so you just got to keep moving forward. Easier said than done, because it hurts. It hurts when you have your hopes high or when you're trying for something. I mean, trust me, I was in a contest about 2 weeks ago, a comedy contest, and I got done and I was just like, oh my God, like, I should have done this. I should have said this. I could have paused right here. And I had a good mentor of mine, Kevin G. He'll be on here in a few episodes, but he, a guy from New York, but he said, man, don't shit all over yourself. Don't shit all over yourself. Like, just keep going. Like, did you have fun? Did you do what you loved? And we have to sometimes take stock in that and just kind of, okay, assess what went right, what went wrong, and then keep moving forward. And that's just the human experience. And so I appreciate you expressing that, because so many people feel like, oh, I'm not ready for this yet, or nobody's ever ready. And anybody who thinks they are fixing to be humbled by life. Like, none of us have it figured out. Like, and there's always, like, no plan survives first contact, as we like to say in the Marine Corps. But also, it's just like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the face, and life punches us in the face every single day. So don't feel bad about, falling short or whatever. Like, you just got to pick up and keep moving forward. And that's just all we can do, man. And I would say stay consistent, stay on message. A mentor of mine, Chris Fiamasio, he always say that if you haven't said it to Marines, but I think this is humans in general, is that if you haven't said it to Marines in the last 60 days, you haven't said it at all. And I was like, I saw Major. Like, it's so wise, because we forget shit. We're so overwhelmed with so much information coming at us right now. So we got to stay on message and stay consistent with, okay, I got this. We're going to keep moving forward. And if not you, rest in peace, Travis Mannion. If not you, then who? You know what I mean? You got to think about it like that sometimes too. If not you, then who? And none of us are really ever fully ready. But I think when you serve something bigger than yourself, you will find a way to get ready and be ready, because you have to show up, as you described, for those other people. And there is beauty in that. There's beauty in the connectedness. There's beauty in the teamwork. Humans need humans, man. I don't care what you say. Like, even introverts, you still need people. And no human has ever accomplished anything on their own. So I just want to share an excerpt real quick while I'm on this theme. And I kind of paraphrased it earlier, but what General Neller was saying, and then please take the mic, man, and I'll shut up for a little bit. But he says, every individual has a unique story. We are all broken in our own way, and we all need help at times. It is critical that we understand and respect that. Listen to me, people. Listen to me. Listen to me. Pain, guilt, trauma, disappointment, and life stressors do not go away. We never get over it. Instead, we must learn to live with it, to cope with it, to not be disabled by it, and to help each other through it. Pain shared is pain divided. Pain shared is pain divided. Over to you, my brother.
Yeah, I'm going to move into the realm of going back to my addictive personality.
Ooh, yes, me too.
And yes, sir. So a few years ago, I was briefing a CEO, and it's like briefing the general. It's like briefing, you better have everything wired tight. And so I'm an individual of growth mindset. Look, I'm going to put the time, effort, energy into this, and I'm going to get it right. And so again, rep after rep, rep after rep. I even had, peers question me and say, try to think of all the questions that the CEO was going to ask me, so that way everything was locked tight, right? Day comes, and I go in with my PowerPoint presentation, and I'm not a slide master. I could do a little bit here and there, but not like some of the, some individuals are just awesome. So one, I was already competing. I was already getting a lower status inside my mind, because I'm like, okay, well, I can't create the PowerPoints that other people do. They could do some really awesome stuff, blah, 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 blah. I go into the meeting and I start briefing, and I'm stumbling over words. It's really hard for me to get things out, and I'm having a human moment, and my heart's breaking, like I'm literally melting down in front of the boardroom. And this is how I maintain my livelihood now, is through my reputation. And so inside my mind, instead of focusing on the brief, I start keeping tally. Bing, you're a dummy. Bing, you're a dummy. Oh, bing, you're really, really messing this up. And so get done with the brief. I'm literally thinking like, oh man, my professional career here is done. Like, seriously, Cam, I was like, oh man, I started beating myself up, like we were talking how humans do. And they come back with feedback after the brief, and they were like, man, that was awesome. You have way with words. You have a way to really influence people. We tell you genuinely care about your product. And this was just miraculous. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, thank you so much. Like, I meant to do that.
Were we in the same brief?
Exactly. Give yourself a chance is what I'm saying. We're all there. We're all there. But not only give yourself a chance, give other people a chance. Here's something you might like, Coach Cam, with your natural leadership style. In 2005, Iraq was a little bit hot, and I'm not going to tell a war story. I'm going to talk about a person. Iraq was a little bit hot, and I got to 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines, and at this time I was still infantry. I didn't go scout sniper then yet, but I took my squad. And inside my squad, there was an individual, and I'm going to change his name up because he had special needs. He was on the spectrum, no doubt. And we'll call him Lance Corporal Smith. Okay. So everyone in the platoon picked on Lance Corporal Smith, and I put a pause to that day one. I put a stop to it and said,
"Yes, we don't do that. Whoa. That ain't it."
That's right. I said, what are we doing to get Lance Corporal Smith to where Lance Corporal Smith could go overseas? We're getting ready to get into some real kinetic fights. I'm just going to call it what it was. Some real battles. I was like, he bleeds and he dies just like we all do. So let's get him spun up. Took him under my wing a little bit. The big thing was, though, once we got over, check this out. I really wish that he could have been a Lance Corporal for life. And what I mean by that is, I think in terms of technical, not heart, you could never judge heart. He could be a general and heart. But in terms of technical and technical ability, he reached an awesome peak for where he was at. People wrote him off, man. People wrote him off. No, we got over, bro. He 5s and 25s. This is a moment that scares a lot of people because you've got to get out of the comfort of your armor. You got to get out of the vehicle and you've got to do a 5-meter walkabout, and you're outside of your armor looking for an improvised explosive device. So,
yes,
Lance Corporal Smith found 5. I.e., he had some kind of knack to put the pieces together to find that little bit of det cord so he kept our patrols. We called him the Bloodhound. So these were 5 different. Yeah. So when I first got there, everyone had a bad nickname. I'm not going to repeat it because it's insulting to me. Like it's insulting to me that a human being would call someone who's trying to serve their country, doing the best they could do, this name. So I'm not going to. I'll just put it this way: it was insulting. But that paradigm shift when he started to show more courage than one of the loudmouths. The one of the loudmouths that was sitting in the comfort of his vehicle, showing leadership. You know what I'm saying? So for Lance Corporal Smith to transform into the Bloodhound, he came home a hero, and we loved him. He actually became like our mascot in terms of like a hero.
Yeah.
Because we see the best in people. We don't write them off, no matter who they are, no matter where they're from. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about old Lance Corporal Smith because I know that falls in line with how you and your leadership model.
Yeah, no, most definitely. It's back to what we were talking about earlier about finding the best in someone. They might not be the best overall, but finding where can they be the best and where can we best put them in a position where they can show their full potential. And someone like that, I mean, honestly, if you're looking for improvised explosive devices, if you're on the spectrum to the way I interpret it, you would kind of want somebody on the spectrum because they have a different kind of analytical skill than the rest. And they see things that we can't see, right? They also don't see things that we can see, but at the same time, in a position like that, yeah, no crap. And I remember I had I was a senior drill instructor. I had some fat recruits, right? And this was during the surge. So, we were getting plussed up. They were you remember, we were getting some kids that were like, how did you get here? But they needed numbers. It wasn't a draft. We still stayed within what the mission was, but we were not getting like the pick of the litter as far as who was coming to join, right? But it was all voluntary force. That's big shout outs to all veterans who served during our time, whether they were good, bad, great, indifferent, whatever it was, because longest campaign in American history, and we never had to enact a draft because we had a full volunteer force. That's a shout out to every single individual that served. Don't matter where you were, what branch. Thank you, sincerely. We did not have to have a draft. That would have been terrible at our times, especially all the other things going on in our nation. But I had these fat recruits. They were mine. And I remember I would PT I was a senior. So, I was Big Daddy. I was, nicer than the other drill instructors. And I would have my fat boys and I'd be like, where we at? Where's my big ones? Come on. And we, every night we would PT together on the quarterdeck together, not slay them, not IT, not anything like that, but we would PT together. And I remember I had a series commander, a great dude, but he was like, when are you going to drop that one? And I was like, nah, he's meeting the standards, sir. Like, I'm not pushing anybody across the line, but like, I'm not making United States Campbells. I'm making United States Marines. So I have my standard, of course, and I want to be the best or whatever, and you want to be the best of fill in the blank, whatever your name, but there's a standard, and standard says these things are what's required, and he's meeting them. Whether it's pretty or not, the kid is trying. Like, I like his effort better than the football player that came to us that is, the star athlete that's just knocking everything out, because they don't really have to put in that much effort sometimes. I'm looking at this kid who is struggling every day just to put his clothes on because he's just that lost, and he was probably on the spectrum. Long story short, brother, that young man in particular became a Marine, and eventually went on and was an infantry Marine. And I'm talking about valor, naval commendation medals in Afghanistan for his valor at being infantry. It was the circumstance, it was the setting of boot camp and the way it is in there that just it was his first culture shock. That's why we're there. We're called instructors. We're called trainers. We're supposed to, it's easy. Some recruits, you could just give a training schedule and they'd become a Marine. It's just the way it is because some people are just, they're like that. But the challenge to me as a senior, especially, was how do I take this and extract the full potential and make a decent Marine? And he was a great Marine, way better than any of the ones that were excelling in our platoon. I'm talking about Naval Accommodation Medals and V for Valor. If anybody doesn't understand that, Google that. But the kid was off the charts because it's the same point you said about your Smith, like we're trying to find the best in someone, bring out the best of them, and it's going to make us better. I don't care where you work, what industry it is. It doesn't matter what other people may see as a weakness. Him being on the spectrum, you found it to be a strength. And I got to quote Bobby Henline. He's a comedian. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he has an organization. And one of the things he asks people is, what's strong with you? He doesn't ask what's wrong with you. He says, what's strong with you? And you found what was strong with Smith. I tried to find what was strong with fill in the blank recruit X, who became a decorated Marine. But you never know what people are capable of until you give them a freaking genuine shot, dude. Over.
Amazing. No, brother, because I remember the guides. I used to kind of follow the metrics when, like my guide's going to get out into the fleet and do great things. And then I felt the burden because you already know where I'm going to go with this one.
I do.
Guy gets out there and gets a DUI, because, and I think along the way we kind of enabled that because we look at them and that false bravado because they're athletic, because they're intelligent, because it seems like it appears to us that it just comes natural for them. They're natural born leaders. That's normally why they're picked as a guide, to lead. And then as they leave recruit training with that inflated ego, we set them up for failure because life hits and now they're going through something and boom, they make decisions that weren't grounded in core values,
Yes.
So we own a little bit of, the guide syndrome is
guide syndrome. That's a good way of putting it. And for those who don't understand what a guide is, the guide is the individual who is like the leader of the platoon, right? So a platoon is usually 30 to 50 to even sometimes 80 individuals, right? Big herds, right? Especially in summertime on Parris Island, you get big platoons. So long story short, you have one recruit who is like the leader of all the recruits. He has some subordinates that are also leaders in their own ways, chain of command type thing, but that's your person. That's the person who is responsible. That's the person who's the face of your platoon. That person, when you march around as a unit in one 180 or 50 man or 30 man herd, that person carries your platoon's flag, but it's our guide on is what we call it. And it signifies what number your platoon is. You could be platoon 1003, you could be platoon 3008, whatever the case is, but everyone sees, and these young individuals, they're given a lot of responsibility. They often do really good in recruit training. They lead by example, some or whatever, but they kind of come there a little ahead of the game, and you kind of use them in a good way to bring out their strengths, but they kind of can get what Ernest was just talking about. They can kind of get like addicted to that environment to where they thrive in just that kind of environment. And then what happens, which is so bad, and this is what I was talking about earlier about sustaining the transformation. This is for anything, anybody and anything. We get the title and then we just stagnate and we get complacent. And stagnation leads to degradation. That's why I think it's so imperative that you consistently challenge yourself, consistently make yourself uncomfortable, consistently try to seek things for growth, as you described, in a growth mindset, because so many people stagnate, they get complacent, they don't maintain the values or the things that was once the thing, and they fall off. And then they're met with some type of temptation, adversity, situation, circumstance that's not a controlled environment like recruit training. That's not someone's telling you what to wear and where to go and everything like that. And they almost they atrophied their ability to lead for themselves and lead themselves in a good way and lead by example just because of the sake of leading by example. That's not all, but it is a guide syndrome that happens. We could say it all day long about like the star quarterback of a football team in high schools. You've seen them. Not all become Tom Brady's. Some just fall off and just are Uncle Rico's, and they're telling you about how far they used to throw the ball, right? So it's that whole thing of complacency and stagnation and maintaining momentum and sustaining and maintaining that transformation of whatever it is you become. If you're a doctor and you don't provide care to anybody, you're going to atrophy and lose your practice, right? If you know algebra and you don't use it for a while, you're going to forget it. If you pull-ups, oh my God, pull-ups, everyone out there, pull-ups, if you don't do them consistently, your body will forget how to do them and you will suck. It's just the way it is. So it's that consistency. Brush your teeth one time, you won't have good breath. I can keep going. I'm just saying.
You're talking about how that ego kind of drags you down paths that you don't want to go, and it happens because we become unaware of our actions, our mind. So our brain starts firing up and we start creating habits and we start living 80% of our habits without intentional thought and without intentional focus. That 20% intentional focus and thought is what keeps us grounded. Now, if your habits could work for you or your habits could work against you. And that's why.
Please listen to this. Please listen to this. Please say that one part again. I don't mean to steal your flow, but this is a point of emphasis that we are our habits.
Absolutely. Your habits could either work for you or they could work against you.
Amen.
So if you develop that habit of getting up in the morning, taking a deep breath, drinking water, eating good foods that make you feel better and help you think more clearly, and you start optimizing, that's a good habit that you want to have because the outcomes are going to be incredible. But if you get up and you're hungover, you have a migraine, and you're already late to work, you get to work, your boss says something slick, you see things start snowballing out of control, and now you're caught in a world of frustration because you have manifested that with your mind. You have created that just through the simple habits that you have formed. So very, very, very important for us to watch what we're doing, what we're thinking, because our egos can get away from us. Our egos could turn us into the football coach, the guide, and that's, and again, core values though are what tether you to something pragmatic. It ties you. So if you could build a habit, a foundation around your core values that are authentic, golden rule. It's so simple, so cliche, but it is the most powerful tool in my repertoire, because when I talk to you, I use the golden rule. I listen, I pay attention to what you're saying because I want you to listen and pay attention. So I have this rule that is inside of my perception, and it's built on habit. It's something that you have to do intentionally over and over and over again. And like you've done it so much, you now see the best in people, and you don't even think, you subconsciously do it. You make people's life better just by being your authentic self without even working. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm definitely not perfect at it for sure, and my bias is negative. Obviously, I think humans are all like that. But yeah, just the way that you can find it for gratitude or finding the best in people, you will make it such a habit that it's just the way that you exist. It's the way that you carry out things, and you will subconsciously. I've seen it happen with me with comedy, bro. With doing stand-up comedy on the side, I look at life, and if something happens, I try to find the funny in it. And I try to find the good in it first because it's something that I can use for fuel in real life, right? But I've trying to train my brain to get there. And I know when I stop laughing at life and the absurdity of it and like the stupidness of it, I'm falling off. And that's like medicine for me is comedy. And it helps shift my perspective, whether it's through gratitude or through trying to find the funny. And look, y'all, I fall short on it all the time, but that's why it has to be that consistent, right? And that growth. And sometimes you got it. It's not comfortable. But I want to read something to y'all about someone getting people out of their comfort zone as far as a leader, right? A great leader wrote this right here. Then this is something for all of us, for ourselves, but also for those we lead, right? It says in the Marines, no one can drop out when they have issues. Each must face them. Placing Lance Corporal Johnson into a team gives them the chance to build their confidence and social skills. Forced out of their comfort zone, they work hard on being assertive and breaking the confinements of their shy nature. This individual, who this leader put in a position, young Lance Corporal E3, was put in a position and was assigned to give classes on public speaking and leadership. And the whole point of it was to increase their public speaking and their leadership and to increase their social abilities. What came to mind there is "To grow, we must suffer." And that's from David Goggins. But who wrote that paragraph I just said a minute ago? That was the guy I'm talking to right now, Ernest Twigg, and it's in A Leader Provides. Powerful, powerful stuff. But for ourselves and for those that we supposedly lead and love, treat them the way you want to be treated and help them grow and help them be their best. And sometimes that is uncomfortable. It's not unethical. It's just uncomfortable. Put them in positions. You want to make somebody a better public speaker or better at teaching things, make them teach a class on public speaking. It literally works, bro. But that's so uncomfortable. But that young man or young woman that you put in that position, they grew from that. And there's beauty in the struggle is what I'm really trying to say. And there's beauty in us trying to extract our full potential. But some of those habits are not comfortable at first, but they can become second nature and subconscious. So I just share that. And another plug for your book, A Leader Provides, written by Ernest Twigg with Robert S. Nahas.
Thank you so much, brother. Yeah. And it's very easy. We were talking about it before, to assume those limiting beliefs. And we get those limiting beliefs, and then what do? We build habits that kind of validate that limiting belief, and then it becomes comfortable to us. We create a comfort zone. We like to stay inside of it, and because you're safe. You were talking earlier about survival, or about the quantum field, about, do we live in a state of reactivity? We're running from lions. We're running to hunt, or are we sitting talking on a computer? Someone sent me an email that basically calls me, stupid, or they're trying to hurt my feelings, or whatever the drama is for the day. I have a choice. I could allow the mammalian portion of my brain, that limbic system, to start dropping adrenaline, start kicking in endorphin, and I could get out of control. Trust me.
Yeah.
I've done it so many times, and nothing positive has ever manifest from that. However, you could train yourself to flip into the cerebral cortex, the front part of your brain, to where that's responsible for logic and clear thinking.
That's right.
And you could start navigating your way out of those situations that you don't want to be in.
Yes.
So it's a choice. And I know a lot of people are out there going to say, Coach Cam and Ernest, they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
It's true.
Because they're not doctors, or whatever the case may be. No, I'm not talking from a standpoint of credentials. I'm talking to you as a fellow human.
Yes.
Don't honor those limiting beliefs. If Lance Corporal Smith would have honored the limiting beliefs imposed by those external forces, how many times would our convoy or patrol have been hit? 5,
yes.
Or even worse. And I don't want to go down that lane, but think about it. If we could just take a moment, breathe. I got it. I know how hard it is when someone pisses you off. And to be honest with you, Coach Cam, I've never been one to say that I want to take my own life. I've had very dark days where I've been very, very sad. My thing is I want to hurt someone. What'd you say to me? What did you just say to me? Like words, like
Queen Latifah. Who you calling up? UNITY? Sorry.
Yeah. Like, Queen Latifah. I remember that. Now you talk old school. I remember.
And then you just snap when keeping it real goes wrong.
I've done that. I've snapped on
Yes.
people without reason. Just because I trained, I was in a mammalian mind state with no human capacity. And someone, hey, you forgot your bag at they're being kind to me. And I'm like, give me that bag or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I really think that in terms of those mindsets that we as humans naturally feel, it's very important that we start learning about what's called metacognition. And that's taking a step back and looking at the way that we think. We need to start thinking about the way that we think. Because when you do that, you realize you are your thoughts and you start unlocking doors a little easier because you start following the signs of your heart instead of the signs of social media, instead of the signs of a lost world.
Yes.
Sorry to go on that rant, but
no, I think
it's important.
No, it backs up what you said about Joe Dispenza, that like we become our thoughts and the way we think. And I think it's so important that you said that metacognition and thinking about the way we think. Some of us come from environments where we automatically see the bad in situations, and that helped us survive for many years. But you got to assess that and see, is that working for you? Like, if I keep doing the same thing, am I going to expect something to change, right? Like, something I've heard, and I've said it many times on here, is nothing changes if nothing changes. And sometimes we got to be willing to make uncomfortable changes. And to what your point was about the negative or the stinking thinking, like, I said this to a group of warriors yesterday. I was like, has anybody ever had a bad day and walked around with the poopy pants mentality and it's ever made it better? Hell no, it doesn't, man. And that's not to be naive or pie in the sky or whatever like that. But like, how is that working out for you, right? And you can where there's neuroplasticity. You talked about that before on the last episode. There are ways to train your brain to see gratitude, to see the good in situations, to see it as an opportunity of growth instead of just hurting and why me and like, that's not going to work out so good. And here's the thing too, and I'm so glad you said it. You brought up the topic of death by suicide. This is what triggered me when I thought about it. Let's say that Lance Corporal that you were talking about, Smith, let's say in the rear, all of his fellow platoon, his fellow fire team, they shit on him. They talk shit on him. They pigeonholed him. They typecasted him as the idiot, the dummy, the whatever. Let's say that Smith had made a decision to say, you know what? I'm done with this life thing, and had ended his life prior to that deployment in 2005. You said this last time about robbing people of your gifts. How many of y'all would still be alive or wouldn't be alive without Smith being there? And he was just this Lance Corporal that everybody had typecasted and whatever. My point in saying that to everyone is, you never know who or what things are coming down the road. So A, be kind, but at the same time, if Smith would have done that, or if he'd have let them get the best of him and he would have hurt himself in some way, he wouldn't have been there to protect them later on. They would have been robbed of the gift that he had in that supposedly being on the spectrum and being so analytical. Like, they would have never been able to be protected. So he probably couldn't see that in 2004 when he's at the barracks in Camp Lejeune and everybody's just shitting on him, talking shit. But a year later, or some later, in the middle of a kinetic environment of combat, of being in Iraq and looking for improvised explosive devices, that person's gift just became a blessing to everyone. I know that's like reaching, some could say, but to me, think about that if you're thinking about that permanent decision, right? And some people, I got to counter this too. Some people say about treating people how you want to be treated. Some people don't want to be treated well. No, what we're saying is treat people to the best. All of us want to be treated good, no matter if you are, you allow people to hurt you or whatever like that. Obviously, there's some therapy there that people need to go through. There's ways of being used to being treated in an ill manner. But when we say that, or when anyone says that, they mean that in the context of treat people in a good manner, because you would want to be, in most cases, treated in a good manner. Now, the anomalies of people who want to be treated in a bad manner, nobody's saying to endorse treating people bad because you want to be treated bad. Nobody's saying that, but trying to be kind and be a light. And you know what, man, what is to give light must endure burning sometimes. And that's just the woes of life. And that flipped my whole mind frame on struggles and stressors and things, is that you can't give light if you're not burning. And you think about a candle wick or a filament inside of a light bulb, like, it's burning, it's on fire, it's hurting, but it's providing us with light. And sometimes we go through our struggles just to be able to do that. So it just made me think about Smith, man. If that young man would have taken his life, he wouldn't have been there to save y'all's lives. Over. Absolutely.
Never write off anyone. Never, ever write off anyone. if you're right now, even yourself, if you're right now finding yourself, it's easy for you to say, Ernest, it's easy for you to say, Coach Cam. Actually, it's work. It's not hard. I don't like to say that it's hard. It's work. We have to be intentional. We have to put the time in to change our habits. Something amazing you were talking about, a leader provides in I think it's the chapter on vision. Let me see here. I was talking about chapter 5, leadership principles.
Yes.
I talk very, very first, I talk about, here it goes, the limiting belief. This is back in 2009. I'll read it to you. And you could see how far this has taken me. I talk about countless men and women in the Marine Corps have felt the sinking feeling of despair, both sometimes overwhelming, always negative thoughts of, I can't do it, can't do that we have felt at one time or another. It is not uncommon to experience temporary emotions of doubt and uncertainty when faced with something we've yet to prove to ourselves. We are going around trying to prove to ourselves that we are worth something. And to me, that sounds kind of ridiculous. You're the owner of your thoughts. You have the greatest, most magnificent quantum flesh computer in between your ears. You have this miraculous machine that we are gifted with. And you have trapped yourself in a mind game.
Yes.
In a mind game. So when I was talking about that metacognition and thinking about the way that we think, I feel like we should take inventory. We should do an assessment of ourselves and take inventory of our own limiting beliefs. What is a limiting belief exactly? The way that I see it is a limiting belief itself is a form of thinking that we've convinced ourselves of that helps us shape our perception of reality. So it's a series of thoughts. Well, the good news is that we control our thoughts so we can shape a different style of belief. Hey, I'm really struggling today. Okay, let's change that. Today I'm really putting in work. Today I'm going to, and it sounds very, very foreign and very far away for individuals that are down in a hole. But like I tell everyone is don't accept one single limiting belief. That's why I stop those Lance Corporals who say, I'm just not ready. Don't accept that. You are ready. You are ready. Yes. Don't accept that limiting belief because it'll become a habit. And as you saw, what you plant inside of your mind, you become. I don't have all the answers, and I have my moments, but at the same time, I feel a certain level of respect and dignity and love and happiness. Like there's a lot of frustration right now over the billion different variables that exist in this world.
Amen.
The climate of, the temperatures of whatever situation that you want to explore.
You ain't got to look far to find something to complain about.
No. But man, does it feel good to jump on LinkedIn and say, hey, instead of doom scrolling, what's my boy Coach Cam going to say? Oh, he's bringing heat today. He's bringing heat today. He's bringing one of his gems and he's dropping science, So that mindset shifts Instead of me dreading, I'm looking forward to being inspired, to hearing your perspective and the way that you put things, man. It's so rich and it's so powerful.
It is. I appreciate that, man. And one of the things that I love what you just said in there was the word temporary. The word temporary, man. Look, y'all, it feels like some things are going to last forever. We can all take a moment and we can say whether it was, me and this guy right here, we could talk about a deployment, we could talk about a cycle, being drill instructor school. You keep filling in the blanks. We can sit over here and admire ourselves all day, but there were many moments where like, man, when is this going to end, right? Now, I want to counter, and I obviously welcome all perspectives on things, but I want to explain what I mean by this statement. I say never choose a permanent solution for a temporary problem. Now, permanent means death to me. To me, that's the only thing that's permanent in my experience of life is death. That's the only permanent. Now, there are some other things that have permanent status. A divorce, someone you love dying, a tragedy, a trauma, a failure, or something of that nature. Yes, that is a permanent event that occurred, but that does not mean that the way you feel about it has to be permanent to the point where you take your life. Okay. So I understand there are some things that are permanent in our yesterdays that we can't ever change. But the one thing that we always have control over is how we respond to it and how that we choose to keep living on. My point in saying that is, I'm going to reiterate again about Smith. If Smith coming into the Marine Corps to find a family, this happens so often too. It's coming in the Marine Corps to find a family, find a brotherhood, find a mission, find a purpose, all that kind of stuff, especially during the generation when Smith had joined, because if he's a Lance Corporal in 2005, then it was post 9/11. What if when he got there and he got out of boot camp, earned the title Marine, finally got to the fleet, this doesn't feel like a brotherhood. This doesn't feel like what I signed up for. These people are shitting on me. These people are bullying me worse for my things that I can't control about myself than maybe they did when I was in high school or my family. Like, wow. Wow. Right. And in that moment of that temporary pain that individual felt, they could have made a permanent decision, i.e. taking their life. I'm going to also explain to you from my own thing, and I've said this to many others, but you haven't probably listened to every single episode. But in 2019, 2018, I was in a dark place. I had lost my tribe. I was too much of this for some. I was too much of that for others. I was alone. I was vulnerable. I was dealing with my own stuff, and I was drinking every day. So to cope, right? There's that thing right there. I woke up one morning and I remember putting a belt behind my throat, and I woke up next morning and went, what the fuck did I just almost do? Okay. That wasn't the first time that it happened, but that was the last time that it happened for me. And here's my point there. I, in that moment, could not change the permanent consequences of things that had occurred in my life. The relationships I'd lost, the transitions I'd went through, the people I'd lost, the pain. Those things were permanent, yes. But my feeling on that moment, that day, was temporary. Because I'm going to tell you, if I had chosen to take my life, and this is why I say you never know who or what is coming down the road of life, I would have never met this daughter that I have now that's a 4-year-old that's probably going to run a coup and take over a third world country one day. I don't know, right? Or I would have never had this conversation with Ernest right now. And I would have never been available to have the conversation with him that we had back in May and June. When he was going through something. And I really did not know. I had no idea. The man did not post it and say anything about it. It was on my heart. And I was like, let me reach out to him, and I wanted to plug the book because I wanted to make sure people understood a good resource, because we don't know what we don't know. So your book is amazing. I've said it. I'll keep saying it. I'm going to keep sharing it because somebody might pick it up and it might change not only their life, but somebody else's. Here's my point. All of those things, and even with Smith being in Iraq to help y'all find IEDs or to be that full potential of that individual, would have never happened if he or I at a different time in our lives had chose a permanent solution. Every fucking thing is temporary, ladies and gentlemen. Everything on this planet. It may feel like, a divorce, a this. I mean, there's so many, you could lose your family in an accident, a tragedy. That does not mean that you can't continue to honor them, and maybe potentially you meet someone else and you have a different family. And you just don't know is what I'm trying to say. So that's what I mean when I say, please don't choose a permanent solution over temporary circumstances. And the circumstances are how you feel right now. You can't see it right now. You're going through a lot. You may be numbing yourself with things that are making you think worse about the situation. Mm-hmm. That was on my heart to say, and I wanted to explain why I say that in the way I say it, because so many people, we all have a reason to choose a permanent solution because all of this shit is temporary. So I know there's a rant. I'm gonna pass it over to you before I keep going, because my ADHD is off the charts, dog. High definition ADHD. Over.
You know what? But it's brilliant. It's
Temporary.
what makes you you. It makes you you, and your ability, like I said, to translate and transcribe other people's thoughts. That's a power, a gift that you've been born with, and it reminds me of how special we collectively as humans are. And when humans operate from the highest frequency of their mind, when they start operating from that frontal lobe and they start reaching out and they start thinking of ways to make life better, not just for themselves, but for everyone. Wow. It's just really, really special to be a part of. And you get that in the Marine Corps,
Yes.
you're trained and you're beat, metaphorically speaking,
metaphorically, everyone, metaphorically.
They beat the love of core values into you, not with their fists, but with the example that they set.
Yeah.
They do the absolute most incredible things, and they push you and they drive you to grow. At the time, you might not like it, you might not understand it, but the human race is beautiful. And when you're down and you're hurting, you're one of them beautiful people. You're one of them. You're part of that beauty, and you're robbing. You would have robbed, your future family. You would have robbed the people of seeing you express that beauty.
Yes.
You express that beauty through your actions. Something that I think bring a little positive note and flavor to the conversation is I'm going to go on a little rant about Paris Island. And
Paris Island.
Yeah. A recruit that was a nasty fat body, and I put him up close to the quarterdeck because as soon as I come out that hatch, you're getting up there. And so one day, come out the hatch, and I had real bad allergies. So that worked to my advantage because sometimes I would get a nosebleed, So because you scream, and
right.
For anyone who doesn't understand the level of intensity and what it's like to scream all day, to where your throat is so raw, you have to drink Robitussin to soothe it or gargle it, gargle it,
yes.
not drink it, but gargle it. It's powerful and it hurts, but you go out there not for yourself. You're going out there for the fat body that wants to change their life. And you inspired this memory. You inspired, how individuals get touched over just being authentic. Okay. So I'm a violent and intense individual. I like it. I'm sorry. I grew up watching Rambo. I grew up playing out in the woods. I grew up being aggressive. It's just, I follow the law and I love humanity, but I also like UFC. I grew up on boxing. Roy Jones Jr. was a hero of mine, just a phenom in the middleweight class. But get back to this recruit on the quarterdeck. I come out and, I'm screaming, and all of a sudden, my nose starts rushing. And the recruit that I've been working on, that I've been investing in, because really that's what I'm doing, is investing in that individual. He's like, sir, I forget, sir, recruit, request permission to speak to drill instructor. And I'm like, shut up. I know, I'm getting ready to run the deck and all that stuff. I'm screaming at him. I know what's happening, but I know that individual wants to tell me. So after, getting mad at the individual for wanting to help me, I'm not really mad. I'm putting on the show, just being me.
That's
just
right.
Being me. I tell him, get on the quarterdeck now. I don't want to hear anything you have to say. And I was intentionally stopping him. And it's getting worse, and it's getting worse. And while he was in the push-up, in the plank position, I whispered, because that's how you get a recruit's attention as a drill instructor, because you're screaming all the time, you become noise. So I whispered to him, and I told him, I said, that was the weakness inside of my mind that I just slaughtered and I killed it. And it's flowing out my nose. It's flowing out my nose. Don't let me see you struggle on this quarter deck. Don't don't kill the weakness inside of your mind. 10 years later, bro. 10 years later, recruit reaches out. And basically it was like, you changed my life, man. That was the craziest moment that I have ever seen. The point that I'm getting at is that how you keep it real. And in that moment, I'm keeping it real. I was keeping it real. I was being Ernest Twigg, having fun with my life, being authentic to that violent and intense nature. I was able to inspire that individual to the point to where that individual came back. And that's the point. I think, one, be true to yourselves. You could fool the entire world, but you'll never ever be able to fool your own thought machine, you know? So you got to keep it real. Two, take a look at how you're thinking about things, because if you start noticing you going down some dark paths, take some intentional steps. Like Coach Cam, I noticed he's a very well-researched individual. If you say something, or if you could say something and walk in, and he's like, okay, here's my book of rhymes. Here's my book of rhymes. He's going to knock it down, and then he's going to go research it, and so forth and so on. And it's going to improve his form of thinking. So, yeah, keeping it real, staying true to yourself, thinking about the way you're thinking, identifying. That's the hard part. Honestly, I think the hardest part for me in this walk of life is identifying when my thoughts aren't optimal, when they're not pushing me towards bettering my life. And the moment you become aware that you are creating resistance to your own life, or just, you know, thinking emotionally with the mammalian brain, you know, if the moment you could interrupt those cycles and just say the word stop, that's all you got to do. It's not a long, hard process. You start forming that habit. You start becoming aware to break all that. So yeah, be authentic. Think about the way that you think, and interrupt those cycles, because you're going to have fun. You're going to have fun, and you're going to reach people's lives. You're going to change people's lives.
Yeah. And I love it, man. And trying to reframe it, that is so genius. If anybody doesn't know what the story he just described as a drill instructor, to have allergies and have your nose start bleeding. And the recruits, you know, like if something was going like an emergency, they know how to stop you. They know, right? But at that moment, he's like, oh no, the drill instructor's nose is bleeding. The drill instructor is bleeding. He bleeds. He might be human, right? And then to whisper to him, because all you do is scream at the recruits, that was weakness dying inside of my body. Like, that is genius, man. That is so genius. But you took that, reframed it, and it's just, it's intense. But I mean, Ralph Waldo Emerson's got a great quote on enthusiasm, that it matters so much. I tell people all the time when I talk to them, like, I got the enthusiasm part. I'm still working on judgment in the 14 leadership traits, 15 leadership traits now, because empathy is on there. Thank you, Sergeant Major Ruiz, for that, because that has always been implied and not always embraced by all, but we need to have empathy as leaders. And I think it's so important.
Brilliant.
Yeah. When you talking about the frontal cortex and the lizard brain, the mammalian brain that wants us to go back to fight, flight, freeze, fawn, like all of us find ourselves in that, man. And I sit up here, and again, I'm not on a pole of perfection. Just in the last week, I almost lost my daggone mind over something that became this threat to me in my head. And I started breaking those 4 agreements we talked about before, where I started making assumptions. I probably wasn't that impeccable with mine or someone else's words. And I almost like didn't show the best version of myself, because so it just told me again, I got to continue to, what you said, identify these times, these triggers, these things that initiate the bad of coming out of me. So we're never ending in the work that we do on ourselves. Like, but knowing yourself, it takes a lifetime. It does. but you really have to do what he's saying. Think about the way you think. Knowing ourselves and seeking self-improvement is a leadership principle in our Marine Corps, but it should be a leadership principle for all people. But to know yourself and seek self-improvement. Look, sometimes I've kind of come to this at 40 years old. Sometimes it's just knowing yourself and knowing how to deal with your crazy ass self. There are certain things I won't put myself in a position with, like anger and like madness. Somebody, don't provoke me if anybody's listening and trying to get me canceled. But one thing I hate is if somebody like cat calls or like touches my wife in public or anything like that. So what I learned a long time ago is I'm not going to the club anymore because somebody's going to say something because I'm way out my league with this lady that I'm with. Somebody's going to talk some shit, say some shit. And I don't trust myself in that position to be responsible, Cam, and in that position to make the right decision. But here's the thing, that impulsive, compulsive decision, long-term untreated anxiety, long-term untreated depression, and long-term dependence on substances will make you make improper decisions and will make you make impulsive decisions. So you do that math if you think about it, and you think about how all of us are reacting on a day-to-day, right, at things, or people making a permanent solution like taking their own life or hurting someone else and taking their life, or the violence or whatever you can't take back. How many of that was not inspired by, but it contributed from having long-term untreated things, long-term untreated dependence on something, and that distorted your ability to make sound decisions and how to have your prefrontal cortex in line to make wise decisions, to be able to respond. Like, how many people are sitting in our prisons and institutions and people have been kicked out for this or for that because it was just that moment and they weren't at their best and they made a bad decision. So all of that comes from how you think, how you live, the little choices. What I like to think of is like brick by brick, it adds up, right? Jocko Willink talks about Rome wasn't built overnight. It didn't fall apart overnight either. It's those brick by brick decisions. And I'm still trying to figure it out after all the therapy, after taking medication, after reading books, writing a book, having a podcast, all of this stuff, man. I'm still imperfect. And even last week, nobody knows it but me and my bride, but I fell short and I took something and took it personal that I shouldn't have, but it was the way I was thinking. So we're all guilty of this and we all have to be mindful of it. That's half the battle, is to, like you said, identify. Sorry for that rant.
No. Yeah, you're spot on. And to your point about we're not perfect. Look, so my first marriage, not perfect. Been down divorced because of my irresponsibilities, because of my actions. And you live and you learn. But one of the things that occurred when this was 1997. So yeah, long time ago. Had a long time to dwell on this. We were in the Jacksonville Mall off of Western, and we're
Dog Mall.
You got it. I was super proud, young, hard charger, and I'm with my wife, my ex-wife at the time, or my wife at the time, my ex-wife now. So, like you were saying, the cat calls. Well, she didn't get a cat call, but some dude obviously comes over and talking to her, whatever. He brings up his friends, and I'm like not having any part of it. So I'm like, hey, let's go, And so she comes with me and we start heading out, and they follow, because it's just her and I. And so we get out to the parking lot. Instead of having any kind of sense, I end up breaking the guy's nose. Now, this isn't a story to be cool. This is a story of sheer stupidity. Because one, the dude didn't. Yeah, they were asking for trouble, but I was the first one to throw the punch. I was the first one, to even though they were using their mouth in a disrespectful manner, that didn't give me the right to express that mammalian violence that I'm addicted to. And I was so young at the time. I think maturity has brought me to where I'm at now, and I could look back with hindsight. And I'll be honest with you, Cam, where I'm at now, I wouldn't even entertained it. I would let my wife handle that situation. She's a mature adult now. I trust my wife now. I trust her to handle those situations. But when I was young, I was so ignorant,
Yeah.
absolutely ignorant, that I believed that I could win through muscle
Yeah.
and through violence. I am so happy to have broken that
Yeah.
mindset, because even at times now in my life where other people, outsiders, have said, "Oh, that was justified," I look back and say, "Oh, nope, I should never have resorted to violence. It's just not it. It's not the highest frequency. It's not the optimal form." So when people tell me now, you know, they have the logical process to use escalation of force, like the Marine
Hmm.
Corps,
Yeah.
show presence, blah 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 blah, and then they have the power and the courage to say, you know what, this isn't even worth my time.
That's right.
I respect that. So yeah, I fall victim, and I have fallen victim uh, more more when I was younger as a Marine, but I still get mad, and I still get on a rant, and I can still look at someone and say, is that person a threat? You know,
Hmm. Yeah.
we've been trained for that.
Yeah. And it's that identifying that in yourself, that takes maturity, that takes ownership, and even when you've done the work, man, like, I talk about the scenario in the book that I wrote about Will Smith, somebody I really respect, admire as an artist, as a dude. I don't think he's an evil person, whatever, but he made a mistake. He slapped Chris Rock that night. Right. And if anybody's ever read on Will Smith, like, he had a very hard childhood and a lot of pain and a lot of trauma and stuff. And then being young and success, like, even though it was a good thing, it messes you up a little bit. This dude's done a lot of self-work is what I'm saying. You read his book, Will, like, he's done a lot of self-work. And at the height of that, he also did the movie The King Richard about Venus and Serena Williams' father. And then he was getting the Academy Award for Best Actor, and he deserved it. He did great in that film. But he had this book. He expresses how much self-work he's done, all this help, right? All this help he sought, all this, it's a really good book on self-discovery, on actually self-actualizing, put it like that, and identifying the things that are that you don't want to be and not indicative of the character who you are. Writes this book, publishes it, audio book. I had a newborn at the time, so I read it a lot because she woke up a lot in the middle of the night, so I just would listen to the book, and he narrates himself. Anyway, fast forward, man, that March or so is the Academy Awards, and he slaps Chris Rock. And it's like, hold up, dude. Like, you just said all this stuff. You did all this self-work. You did all these things. Now, I don't say that in judgment. I say this to say that if you don't deal with your shit deals with you, right? And if you don't continue to work on yourself, you will fall victim to yourself and your natural inclinations to do what he did in that situation, which, justify it or not, a hurt person hurt somebody that night. And Chris Rock didn't deserve to get smacked. Probably whatever the background of the joke, the thing, the this or that or whatever like that. But I think I look at that as proof that even though Will Smith did all this work, addressed all these things, went through therapy, did all this growth, you can fall off and get complacent because of the op tempo of life. I just described that last year he had. It was a lot of things going on, a lot of emotions, a lot of everything. And in that moment, in one of his highest moments, we all know, made an ass out of himself, and a hurt person hurt somebody. That can happen to all of us, right? That can happen to all of us. And that's why I like Gangstar, good old song they got called Moment of Truth. He says in there, Guru says, don't be so quick to judge. You never know the hardships people don't speak of. So before you go casting stones and saying, oh my God, Will Smith, how could you? Realize that all of us every day unintentionally are probably smacking Chris Rocks all the time, and we're not dealing with our stuff or continuing to deal with our stuff. So my point there is good old General Mattis 101, the Honorable Mr. Mattis, complacency kills. Don't get complacent because it can hurt you, and you can be something that's not indicative of who you're aiming to be, because you can fall short, and you're perfect. You're imperfect. You're human. Over.
General Mattis also said, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'll paraphrase it, be polite, kind, and have a plan to kill everyone in the room,
Yes.
That absolutely applies to life. And what I'm saying is not resort to violence, but in terms of cutting people out of your life that do you wrong. it is better for you and for them. So I'll give you a prime example. One of my faults is I try to save the world. Carl Jung with his hero archetype, very interesting. I think that a lot of us fall into that, especially Marines, and we start forming, our brains start operating that way. And so we start investing in people who are criminals. We start investing in people who, yes, we could become vulnerable to invest in individuals that only want to manipulate, lie, cheat, and steal. At this moment in my life, General Mattis's quote really applies, because it's like, okay, I'm going to be polite and I'm going to be kind, but I'm going to establish boundaries. I'm going to establish boundaries because there's people that are deserving of your time, effort, and energy. And instead of putting it towards the individuals that don't align with you, who don't elevate you, who want to watch you fail, align it to those people who bring you to the next level, who want you to grow, who tell you, hey, you're not going to want to hear this, but you're drinking too much, Cam. You smell bad, man. Look, when's the last time you showered? Those are the people, and it's hard because it hurts your ego. Well, I'm drinking because of whatever limiting belief that you've accepted, you've agreed to. It's now controlling you. So you it starts driving those behaviors. So yeah, absolutely. I think if you really want to feel better in life, if you really want to feel joy, start investing in those people that invest into you. Start aligning yourself with people. I forget which book it was, but I was reading a book. They say you want to be smart, you want to get smarter, you want to have a higher IQ. Surround yourself with people who are smarter than you.
Yes.
Yes. A lot of people are uncomfortable with that because they feel inferior. You've got to stop that nonsense. You've got to interrupt those cycles of thought, and you've got to jump into that pool with those because the regular people, just like you and I, they have their fears, they have their weaknesses, they have their strengths. But you are them. You are them. And put your word out there. Put your word out there. Yeah, I'm glad you talked about Will Smith. That's a great model that you're using to display the hard work, eruption. You hit one of those anomalies, those peaks, boom, crash, and now you're going to start. My point is don't wait for that crash to occur before getting help. While you are up here, build those habits that maintain you at a plateau that's less violent of a drop. Maintain somewhat of a steady state. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
I love it, man. I'm so glad you said that, and that was so powerful what you just said. And what reminds me of is the concept of steel sharpens steel. Like that's what we do. Steel sharpens steel. Aluminum doesn't sharpen steel, right? Cotton doesn't sharpen steel, right? And I get it. I think I definitely have that superhero complex. I think about, I think I heard Chris Williamson say it. He said that the hero and the superhero, the superhero and the villain have the same backstory, pain. The difference is the superhero wants to make sure nobody else feels like that again, and the villain wants to make the world feel their pain, right? And I think we're all coming from a place of that in some ways, and maybe it's not as binary. We have different days or whatever, but I definitely have that. And I've been accused of or not I'll say accused of, but I've been asked, do you really think that you're one speech, one letter, one post, one podcast away from saving the world? And I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I got to keep on, but I do have to check myself because you knew to have what you said, which was boundaries, because let's be honest, man, some individuals in this world are vampires, right? And that's just the way it is. And you may be directly blood related to them. You may be a person that you've known for a long time, et cetera, right? And what I'm saying here is not to just cast people out or to just act like you're a pompous, like I've made it, I'm better than you. No, that's not what we're saying. But what we're saying is, are they bringing you up or are they pulling you down? Like, relationships have to be reciprocal. Like Teddy Pendergrass said, 50-50 love, talking about a 50-50. It's got to be mutual, right? And there'll be times when I'm giving, 90 to someone and they're giving me back 10 because they're down. But it's got to be reciprocal. But you have to look at and identify, is this person, is this thing, is this habit, is it making me better or is it bringing me down? And then you need to assess from there, right? And I say this because you said earlier, memento mori. Man, when I lost my brother, it was like one of the worst pains I ever had. Losing siblings, just, I don't know. I can't describe it. When I lost my cousin, who is like a sister to me because we grew up together very closely, all I thought about, bro, was all the times that I didn't speak to them, that I wasn't there for them. And there's a little, guilt or whatever. Maybe I could have made a difference. I don't know. The situation is what it is. The universe called them and their ticket was called and they're no longer here. But what I really thought about in contrast was all of the years, the time, the hours, the text messages, the phone calls that I fucking wasted on people who didn't even appreciate my time, my effort, or my energy. And I could have put that time towards those individuals, and I don't have them anymore. So I share that because we have to be very, very smart in who we give ourselves to, and that doesn't mean you to go through life like an asshole and say, oh, well, if you're not a Fortune 500 list, I'm not talking to you. You're not going to make me better. Nobody's saying that, asshole. Don't misinterpret, okay? Don't be so literal. But what we're saying is, some people are going to make you better and some people aren't. And yes, it's okay to reach back and try to bring somebody up and try to help them achieve. But when people are pulling you down and when things are pulling you down, when your stress reliever becomes a stress causer, hashtag fill in the blank, video games, porn, drinking, whatever the thing may be, seeking attention, doom scrolling, when your stress reliever becomes a stress causer, when your friend now is treating you as though you're an enemy, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself, is what I'm saying. Because time is precious and memento mori applies, as my man Ernest said. Remember, you will die. That's an ancient Latin expression. Memento mori. It's basically remember, you will die. So is this how we want to spend our time? Wasting it on people who, like you said in the beginning, they don't want your help, nor do they deserve your help. You may just be enabling them to be more helpless and more negative while they bring you down. So think about that. And that's very hard. I struggle with that so fucking much. So much, and I feel like a piece of shit, and I feel like a Lifetime movie, and I'm like, if I just reach out to this person, they'll change. No, the fuck they won't. They will when they want to, and humans don't do shit until they want to. You're there to help them, guide them. Forgive my language, but I just had to be real with that.
Yeah, no, it's spectacular, man, that you get it, because you I think I told you, you're you're an awesome father, you're an awesome husband. I could tell you become who you really, really are. You self-actuated, and yeah, you don't have it figured out. That's fine. But you are no longer robbing those beautiful people in your life of time and by dealing with the drama that of someone else. And I'm not telling anyone to turn their back on someone in need. That's not what I'm saying. But sometimes, a drug addict may be, I've enabled a drug addict because I love them and I feel sorry and I have that hero complex. So I end up giving them money, and they're not paying bills with that stuff. They're going out and they're getting meth. Big problem. My family comes from Appalachia, and so I have to be very, very, very careful, because my love can be silenced. My love can be silenced. And it feels so counterintuitive. It feels like I am failing them, but I would be failing them by enabling them, by buying the drugs. Yes. Basically, that's what I would do, is I'm buying the drugs for them and saying, hey, you're welcome, and compounding their troubles. So, yeah. And I think that when we, shifting and transitioning over to the people that elevate us, because that's who I like to focus on. That's where my focus is at.
Yeah.
Those people that truly want to see you succeed, put more of them in your life and tell me how you feel. Tell me how your life changes when you call up that person that you haven't talked to in 15 years and that individual takes you to a place where, man, why did we lose contact? This is incredible, man. This is just great. I have a brother for life now. I have a brother for life.
For sure, bro.
Yeah.
What's beautiful is when with certain bonds, it's like you pick back up where you left off, and like no time was indifferent. That's what I've noticed when humans have certain bonds. That's what I felt with you when we reconnected. It was like there was 15 years of silence, and it didn't even feel like that. So I know I just cut you off. I'm sorry, but it matters, man. It matters, and thank you.
No, you hit me up, and I was like, "Drill Master." I still remember you. Yeah,
I used to be somebody. Oh shit.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Always.
I just don't have a pair. I don't have a paragraph on the back of my PT shirt anymore. That is like the longest print on anyone's shirt ever. It goes from like wingspan to wingspan. Drill Master. Like, goodness gracious, that's a long ass thing. Oh, that's hilarious though. But no, you got to really assess that of who are you allowing in your circle, right? And I'm so glad we both cleaned up the fact that we're not trying to say stiff arm people or to act like you're better than anybody. No, that's not what we're saying. But I think it's whether it's the habits or the people you have in your life or the way that you think, is it making you better or worse? And if it's making you worse, well, then you gotta stop. You gotta assess. You gotta reassess. You gotta take a knee for a second, because nothing changes if nothing changes, right? And I think. And I've been guilty of it, man. I've been guilty of trying to use my love language and what I thought was love, but I've enabled. I have not held people accountable. I have wasted my time on individuals that just weren't in a place to receive it. So you have to be careful, because, time is the one thing that we spend every day, and we do not know our remaining balance. So we got to be very careful with whom we give ourselves to, and be careful with that F word, who you call friend. Be careful with that.
I've been scammed, bro. I've been scammed. Literally, someone who prides himself on learning and focusing attention, that's my fault. That's not the scammer's fault. They're doing what scammers do. That's my fault that I bought into it, and I should have known better. It's okay. Water off a duck's ass. Let's keep moving forward. You live and you learn. And guess what? I am much closer. I'm more aligned with myself, and it's not selfishness, because now, so prime example, I just donated to a church that is putting book bags together for underprivileged kids. You know what I'm saying? And I actually see the materials, and I actually get to watch the child grab the bag, So for me, instead of giving that money to someone who's abusive, someone who's addicted, or whatever they're saying, we're now providing potential for a child to learn,
Yes.
And that really makes me feel better in this thing called midlife where we're at right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm going to bring this up, and I'm not trying to isolate, any of the millennials or any Gen Z, but a lot of my peers right now are going through pain and suffering at an unprecedented level, because they're starting to buy into the limiting belief that their younger self is running circles around their present self. And they have this battle, this internal battle against this ghost. And I face it on occasion. But I have a tool that kind of breaks that up. And that is learn something new. Learn something new. Go out there with the curiosity of a child, with the mindset. When you think of a kid and you see them learning out on the playground how to interact in society by playing games, by playing pretend. When they act like adults, like, hey, I'm going to be a policeman or whatever the case may be. You could learn so much from watching how kids play, because they're innocent. They don't have all that negative baggage that we acquire through our years. So somebody who's facing, my brothers and sisters out there facing, the clock or the path of time, it takes us to where we can't function as we once did. But as you already know, like, you got the 4 agreements out there, and do your best. Do the best that you could do. Always do the best that you could do. And your best is going to fluctuate. It's going to vary from day to day. Like I was telling you, some days I could jump on the chessboard and really knock it out of the park. And other days I can't understand. I get beat within a matter of moves. That's life. Everyone has their ups and downs. But as long as that's my marker and how I get through ageism, how I defeat it, is I don't care what anyone else says. I care about that critic in my mind that saying, did you do your best today? Did you try to make your life or someone else's better? And that really helps me, because I go back and I learn new things. And when I start learning something new, prime example, my son, I learned to play soccer at the age of 36 years old. Never played, except on a corner with kids maybe once or twice in my life. But my son inspired me. So I learned to play. We got out there, kick the ball around, so forth, so on. And I just said, you know what? I'm a soccer player now. I am a soccer player. I was able to join a league with my son, and I was leading the scoring by playing center at the age of freaking 38 years old, because my son inspired me to learn something new. It rejuvenated that competitive spirit. It made me go back. And I don't want to be Uncle Tio. The point that I'm giving is the tools that are available for you. Or be a child and learn something new, because that's what childs do. That's what children do. So learn something new. Get out there and do it for someone else. Do it for one of your loved ones. And I promise you, you're not going to worry about that number. I just started, Cam. I just started my life. Everything I've done, I don't, bad and good, achievements and setbacks. Okay, got it. I'm focused on the next 10 years. I'm possessed by a better version, an image of a better version of myself, to where I'm bringing love. I'm bringing love to people. I'm bringing love to my family, and I'm bringing love to myself. I'm bringing love to myself. And I honestly think that is a tool to help people defeat ageism, because I feel it too. You're going through it. Yeah,
it's real. But also to your point, it made me think of, you don't stop playing because you get old. You get old because you stop playing. So you got to keep growing. You don't get old. You don't stop playing because you get old. You get old because you stop playing, right? And I think that's with everything, and I think it's important. And one thing I read this the last few days was like why children are so they're in the moment. They're taking it moment by moment. They're not thinking of all these different things and letting things distract them, right? But learning to play soccer, and also it reminds me of what Jason Vale said. Anybody who's out there struggling with an addiction of any kind, substance related, Jason Vale, he's famous for a lot of juice stuff overseas, juice machines and all this kind of stuff, a nutritionist, but he wrote a book called Kick the Drink Easily. And in there, he talks about so many things about alcohol and the deception of, are you really having a good time? Because this is actually what's happening, right? You're actually regretting things and blah, 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 blah. There's so many good things in there. Good book, Kick the Drink Easily. But one of the things he says in that book that I think is applicable to all humans, no matter if you're an addict or not or whatever, he says that we are just like plants. Once we stop growing, we start dying. Right? It's very binary. So you have to keep doing what Ernest just said, embracing new challenges, having that growth mindset. And there is something in our brains called the mid-cingulate frontal cortex. I forgot what it is. Mid-cingulate cortex. You can Google it. Andrew Huberman has an episode with David Goggins about it. Yes. But he talks about there's this thing in our brain that when they do autopsies on people who have stagnated or people who have, let's just say, given up in life and they've passed away, not suicide or anything like that, but they've given up. When they do a autopsy, they see that that particular part, mid-cingulate cortex, is small in their brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when they take an autopsy of people who have been ambitious, people who have lived long lives, who have kept fighting, basically, that mid-cingulate cortex is larger because it's like a muscle of growth inside of our head. So it really backs up a lot of what David Goggins talks about to grow, you must suffer. That the best way to grow is to be uncomfortable, that be comfortable being uncomfortable type of thing. And whatever that thing may be. And again, we're stubborn. A lot of us are set in our ways and all that kind of stuff. But I couldn't imagine a man of your status and stature and background coming from Appalachia, coming from who you are, the stereotypes that may be placed on you being like, yo, I'm going to go try soccer, right? But you did it. Two things came of that. You grew. You were able to find a community with other people that you participated in the thing with. So there's boom. We got mental fitness. We got physical fitness. We got social fitness. And you're doing something where you're connecting with other people and you're connecting with your son. That's spiritual, man. That's like total fitness at its finest right there, of holistic care. And you found it in something as a platform as soccer, right? That's beautiful. And that speaks to how humble you are as a warrior to say, I'm going to suck, but I'll try, right? And you learn and you grow, but you grow over.
It was all about my son. So all the time that we spent with him training me, because he's played his whole life, so him out there showing me how to dribble, showing me how to do header, showing me, basically teaching me everything. And a lot of people are like, oh, soccer doesn't take skill. It's just running. You try to keep that ball on your foot and dribble. Dribbling in soccer is harder than dribbling in basketball. I did play basketball. But the point is that time that my son and I had conversations, those complex conversations about life, hey, when you look for a woman, take it slow, be smart, have standards, have boundaries, kick them the ball. Boop, So it wasn't necessarily about soccer. The point was that was time spent together and shared. And, it really, really, really made me proud that I was still relevant to him, because these are the people that we love. And so taking that time and jumping out of that comfort zone, it was embarrassing, man. It was in the beginning, it was embarrassing, but I love that embarrassment. I'm sorry. I do. That embarrassment keeps me out with him till midnight, to where my wife is saying, you got to work tomorrow. You got to get up at 4:00 in the morning. But we're not drinking.
We're bonding.
Right. Exactly. Yes. He's got school in the morning, so forth and so on. Those moments right there, when you start living for the people you love and investing in it, the fruits of your labor are just so worth it, brother. They're just so worth it.
So worth it. Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I have similar experiences with my son, man. We started DJing together. My son stepped on stage the first time the other night and did an open mic, and he crushed, and he did so good at comedy. But you got to have those things with the people that you love that can bring it. And some of it, like Epictetus is somebody that I admire so much in history. I mean, his name literally translates to the acquired one. He was a slave, and he was a tortured slave.
Yes.
And then, I mean, put it like this, thousands of years later, I'm still quoting him. But one of the things, and it reminded me of what you're saying, he said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus said that. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. So we got to be willing to put ourselves out there. That's part of that vulnerability, to be able to be like, all right, I'm going to look stupid, but I'm going to try it. But the good that comes from it, man, like the bonding with your son till midnight and you're not drinking, and you're talking about life and the steel sharpening steel session that occurs. And then what are you doing? You're actually exercising. So what's that doing for your body and brain? I mean, we got enough stuff to back up that, right? So I just think it's beautiful, but it takes what Epictetus said. If you want to improve, be content to be foolish and stupid, or the thought of to be foolish and stupid, because that's where the growth is. That's where that mid-cingulate cortex grows.
That's what we as adults don't like, though. We do not like looking stupid. We are so serious. You know, the children will look at adults and they get that vibe, you know, like, oh, you're mean, or she's mean, or he's mean. They have that natural intuition because time and life has had its way with us. It's had its way with me, and there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do to stop it when time takes away my loved ones, the people that I love, and when time takes, we are at its mercy, and when we submit to it, that's what I think. Stoicism and Epictetus really, really resonates with me. They inspire me to think more clearly about how precious this gift of life is, and how little time that we have. I love the idea from Epictetus where if that we are the fault of all of our problems.
Those are thoughts.
We are the cause. We are the ones. So, and I know, because I've had that mindset to where it's the world against you, and it's the world's fault. It's the world's fault. There's so many injustices. There's this, there's that, there's X, Y, and Z. And we continue to look at that and continue to play that game. And I think Epictetus, coming from his background of a slave, and developing and becoming a teacher to a emperor or to a king, that evolution that he went through is sheer wisdom, and it's timeless. That's why you're reading it, thousands of years later. Yeah, it's still relevant.
And he didn't even write nothing down. This is crazy, man. He didn't even write nothing down. It's like he published a book, right? Like he had a dude in his class basically that used to listen to him and would write it down. And that's how we got what we got from Epictetus. So just when you think about legacy, you think about impact and taking what you have and making the best of it, man. One of the most prime examples. And another thing, to the point of what we were talking about earlier about resilience and dealing with things, one of the things that I try to remember from Epictetus the most is he says, what ought one to say as each hardship comes? I was practicing for this. I was training for this. Like, dude, that is so powerful. That's why we have a force of readiness. That's why we pray for peace, but we're ready for war. Like, what ought one to say as each hardship comes? I was practicing for this. I was training for this. It's just so powerful. And anyone out there, if you want a tangible tool, man, look up Stoicism. It's rude. It's the children of Stoicism, or things that are complemented to it. Like it's very similar to Buddhism and knowing what you can accept and what you can't change and stuff, and give you some peace of mind and thought there. If that's too much for you, it's not a religion. It's not anything. It's just thinking about how to think. And that's what you were talking about earlier, thinking about how to best live your life. But the children or the descendants of Stoicism is CBT. cognitive behavioral therapy, REBT, and so many other things like even 12 steps is rooted in Stoicism. Maybe not on purpose, but that's where it's inspired from. So if you really want to get with some good thought or how to think better and how to be better day by day, brick by brick, look up Stoicism. And a good place to start for me was the Daily Stoic book by Ryan Holiday. It's one little excerpt every single day. And I've read that book at least 7 times over because I try to read it every day. You can just flip it anywhere. You'll find something in there. But just to help you better engage with this world. And so when the hardships come, you can say, I was practicing for this. I was training for this, right? All right, rant over. Sorry.
I love it. No, yeah. And another place is YouTube. They now have those artificial intelligence speakers that you can put on Epictetus, and it's fun. It breaks it down, and it uses a very stoic voice. The artificial intelligence uses a stoic voice, so it's awesome and it's fun, and it's a great introduction to Stoicism. And when you look through the individuals, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and some of the greats you now have them here in this time. And I think it's even more important because they're able to translate what's going on right now, so that way that timeless wisdom is easier digested in today's. You have you could go to Barnes and Noble or anywhere and just, it's like it's got its own section now. Stoicism has its own section. That's how powerful the philosophy is. And I definitely, in my eclectic approach to life, have grabbed bits and pieces like you have, gems, those gems of resilience. Yeah. And that's my currency. I use those gems when I start feeling like trash. Hey, I'm going to cash in that stoic gem today, or I'm going to that Buddhist. I have the Dharmapada back there. I have Epictetus back there, and I'll be honest, I haven't visited them in a while, but they have had significant impacts on my life. Yes. Buddhism really made me very curious at first. Alan Watts, highly recommend you check out my man Alan Watts. He's a contemporary Buddhist philosopher that passed away in the 1970s. But if you listen to him talk about, life is a game.
Yes.
And he starts dropping the science, you can't help but start becoming enlightened. He just has a way with words that is so poetic and beautiful, but applicable. And he's he is a timeless philosopher that I really, really appreciate. Yeah, highly recommend checking out Alan Watts.
Yeah, Alan Watts, spelled just like the neighborhood or the city in L.A., but Alan Watts, actually a mentor of mine, somebody I admire. I love her so much. Bobby Oliver, shout out to you. She runs a comedy school, a comedy studio in L.A., and the book she wrote is called The Tao of Comedy, as we would say, but you pronounce Taoism. But one of her biggest inspirations is Alan Watts, and she actually opens her book with The Tao of Comedy, Embrace the Pause, talking about the impact that he had on her. I had never even heard of Alan Watts until I heard Bobby Oliver tell me about him, and me looking into him has helped me out so much immensely. My point there is that you have these things like connect. It's like a chain reaction, right? Like, okay, we were talking about this, now we're talking about 4 agreements, and then, but you can also do Stoicism. But yeah, have you heard about the beauty of Buddhism? Have you heard about Taoism? Have you heard about Alan Watts? Have you heard about the unselfishness of the golden rule, do unto others? That's Christianity. Like all of these little gems are there, and it's like a chain reaction. It's like a wellness omelet of you being the best possible version of yourself. So take that fuel, use it as fuel for your tank. Nobody drives their car until it runs out of gas on purpose. We treat our cars better than we treat ourselves. Like when we get low on the meter, we don't stop and fill up our tank. We just keep going. And then we are on E and we're on the side of the road and we got to call for roadside assistance when we could have just filled up our tank a little bit with some of the sources of fuel that we've been talking about today. So please keep that in mind, people. And Alan Watts, stoicism, not stoic in the, oh God, I hate it when people be like stoic like a statue. That's not stoicism.
Yeah.
That's different. There's difference there. But you got to get smart on that stuff, man. And it may help you. It may make the difference for you. Or hey, leaders out there, maybe the stuff we're talking about isn't for you. Maybe it's so that you can share it with someone else. Leader. You ever thought about that? Sorry, I had to be sarcastic there.
Yeah, you're bringing up a great point about being a statue. So what the misconception, because it's a misconception about being a statue, is that you have this ability to turn off emotion. You have this ability to become a statue, and that's completely a false reality. Stoicism knows that you're going to have emotion, but yet you take the high road. When life has its way with your dignity and your pride and you feel busted and defeated, Stoicism says, keep your dignity, maintain your self-respect, and take the high road. And going back to what you were saying about the fuel tank when you were motivating me, your fuel tank, you're a vessel. You're a vessel. You could fill yourself with those 33 gems of resilience. Those gems of resilience that come from, it comes from Buddhism. It comes from Christianity. It comes from all the great sciences, all the great religions. You could fill yourself with those, or you could fill yourself with shit. You could be full of shit. You could be full of shit all day long. If you want to, hey, that's the choice that you are making. And again, very, very, very powerful stuff. Take a second, take a pause, step outside yourself, start aligning yourself with who you are. Start aligning yourself with who you are. It's going to pay dividends. And reach out to Coach Cam, reach out to me, whatever, however, and having someone who elevates you, having you in my life, having individuals like Carlos Gallardo in my life, it helps me in my decision-making process. So I've trained myself like, I'm emotional on this one. Mm-hmm. Let me run this by, even though it might seem stupid, even though something small, I'm happy to help and say, hey, this is how I think of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And someone having the ability to use that frontal lobe instead of the mammalian brain, they're going to give you a more optimal answer. So it's just imperative that you surround yourself with the people that love you and that elevate you, and then you got to pay it back. You have to.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a crowd participation.
And it actually feels good. It feels good, though. Man. It feels so good when you know that you can make a positive impact on somebody. And and for me, the last quote I'll throw out tonight, I promise, because these are the things that keep me going. But Jim Carrey, man, I love Jim Carrey. One of my idols growing up, man, just funny as hell and just himself and unapologetically him. But one of the things he said was, and I got it tattooed right here on my forearm, man, right here on my forearm. It's right here, so I always see it. But the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is. There's nothing more valuable. Statues fall down, legacies, whatever, no, the effect you have on others, that's your legacy. That's the most valuable currency there is. And when Jim Carrey said that, man, it changed my life. And that's why I have it right there in my purview all the time, because I am forgetful. But to anyone out there listening tonight and you go, oh my God, you two are just too much, and good thing for y'all having it all figured out over there. Please don't hear wrong. You can take whatever you want. I can't control the way you receive a message, but I do want to say this. You are put here for a reason. You are put here to be your best self, and why not? We're here anyways. And if you haven't been doing it so far, and you've had stinking thinking, or you've been having a substance issue, or you've been addicted to bad things, like your stress reliever has become a stress causer, right? It could be from doom scrolling to porn to womanizing to being too promiscuous to whatever the thing is. Your stress reliever has become a stress causer. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. And please remember this Chinese proverb. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is right freaking now. So why not switch the style up? And if they hate, then let them hate and watch the positive effects pile up. I stole that. Okay. Shout out to that album again.
Yeah, it's amazing, and having hard times. Look, it's amazing too. I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but those hard times, you know it better than anybody. The more you struggle, and the greater the achievement. And
Yes.
that achievement, when you have that breakthrough moment, when you get your eagle, globe, and anchor, you can't control the emotions. You know, they start breaking down, they start crying. Those were because they went through quite possibly the most difficult time of their life to achieve something. And I guarantee you, I know that I faced it, you faced it. There was that voice saying, I should quit this. I shouldn't do this. But they stayed and they allowed the pressure to transform them into a Marine. They allowed that tension to transform them into a diamond. So
That's
hang
right.
in there. Hang in there and keep going. I leave it with one thought, and it's this: you are born special, and you might not see it, and others might not see it. But if you just open your heart to yourself, if you forgive yourself, if you unlock yourself from the chains that tie you to a limited belief, if you break those chains, I promise you, you're going to live a life worth living. And not only that, you're going to impact someone's life, and you're going to set someone free. And that's what it's all about. If we've touched one person's life, great. You know, if 1,000, 1,000,000, great. The object is to make humanity better. And it's not just some wishy-washy dream. It takes action, and it requires work, and it's super hard work, because trust me, you could be a criminal. I could be a criminal. We could take shortcuts. We could lie. We could cheat. We could steal. And there's been times when I did. There's been times in my life where I have. But through discipline, determination, self-confidence, through building good habits, through believing in ourselves, we've freed ourselves, and we're going to continue to try to free others. And that's just the way it is. There's no stopping us.
Man, I love it. That's what we got. General Smith said, maintain momentum. And just like General Mattis said a long time ago, complacency kills. So, hey, again, y'all, best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but next best time is right now. I do want to ask you just to see if you want to reiterate or say the same thing you said last time, but it's on my heart to ask you, brother, if someone's out there and they're like, I'm done, man. I've heard y'all's bull. I've went to the help. It didn't help. I'm tired of this. I'm going to take my own life. If you had the opportunity, what would you say to that individual?
I need you. I need your voice. Please don't steal your life. Don't steal the blessings that you're going to give to me. Don't rob me of that opportunity. I need you. I need you here. And if you're not talking to me, think about your child that's not here yet.
Not here yet.
Think about your family that are here. I know because I talk to individuals, they're going through, pain on a level that I can't comprehend. I could empathize, but I can't comprehend the amount of pain that they're going through. But I can say that in my past life, I shared pain. I shared, downs and lows. And if I could hold on, you could hold on, we all can hold on. Seriously, reach out to those that elevate you. Reach out, talk to the person that loves you. Don't rob that person. Allow them the opportunity to tell you how much they love you. It's that simple. Just take a pause before you do it. Allow that person to tell you how much you are needed.
So well said, man. I just thank you, brother. And Angel Robles taught me a long time ago, and he told me this quote in Iraq. He said, blood makes you related, love makes you family. I didn't live up to not saying one more quote, so I said a few more, but I'm not perfect. But I'll tell you, man, blood makes you related, love makes you family. Ernest, I love you, brother. I appreciate you, and thank you for being who you are and everything that you do, man. You're an inspiration, and I know for a fact someone listening tonight is made better because of you. So I just tell you, thank you, bro. And to all the listeners, thank y'all for giving us a chance to try to make an influence of positive in this world. I don't care if you like me. A lot of people don't like me, but I tell all of y'all right now, I love you, and I want nothing but the best for you so you can actually self-actualize. Any close save rounds, sir? Save rounds on the line? Save rounds?
Yeah, I do have one save round. Don't believe in that toxic positivity crap. Someone will tell you, hey, you ever experienced toxic positivity? Just look them in the eye and say, yeah, I have experienced toxic positivity. I love life too much. I love my children too much. I have too much fun. Man, I can't stand this toxic positivity. You see what I'm saying? Like, life is good. Life is good, and start focusing on it. There's no such thing as toxic positivity. Keep pushing, keep doing good things. Coach Cam, love you.
I love you, bro. I love you, man. Hey, like Stallone said, keep moving forward. And guess what, everybody? We are sponsored by Nobody, baby.
Nobody.
Only inspired by the First Amendment. Inspired by the First Amendment. Shout out Keith Sweat. Much love to you all. Thank you for listening.